This is Garis, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 493, entitled, "If your feminist girlfriend remains monoconscious, dump her." This is part 2, carrying straight on. Biconscious masculists are fed to the teeth with monoconscious feminazi bitches who feel they have the right to lash out at men for the relatively minor ways that men oppress women, but become hypocritically outraged when masculists attack them for their monoconscious ignorance, their monoconscious bigotry, their closed-minded rejection of the idea that gender oppression is a two-way street, when it is so obvious to biconscious masculists that gender oppression is a two-way street, and that women oppress men far worse than vice versa, that any masculisted man knows. Thus masculists target the male feminist boyfriends / partners / husbands of monoconscious feminists, punishing these women very hard by stripping them of their man, that is, their source of emotional and sexual support, as a very effective way to force her to become more biconscious via great pain, as her man walks out the door, fed up with her monoconscious bigotry, her monoconscious ignorance and callousness towards men, and the way that billions of women oppress men through their decades-long man-slavery of men, women's paternity fraud, women's pill lying, women's tooth and nail hypocritical opposition to the legislation of the para, that's paternity rejection right, when women already have the mara, maternity rejection right. So women can terminate an unwanted pregnancy, but a man can't. Thus a woman can pill lie and manslave a man for decades, forcing him to pay for a kid he doesn't want. These are massive gender crimes against men committed by women, hence the masculist hatred against women who commit such crimes. Masculists see such women as gender criminals who deserve to be punished severely, which is what the masculists are out to do. Soon, there will be millions of masculists and MGTOWs, in brackets, men going their own way, who reject marriage and paternity and spend their money on themselves, who are reacting to the toxicity of the divorce courts taken over by the hated, fluffy feminists who see men as cash machines to be robbed and abused, close brackets. When there are millions of masculists, there will be many occasions in which a masculist knows a male feminist who has a monoconscious feminist girlfriend. That masculist can then convert the monoconscious male feminist into a biconscious male feminist, or a biconscious masculist, since the two terms are equivalent. The masculist can then suggest to the male feminist to teach masculist ideas to his monoconscious feminist girlfriend, so that she becomes biconscious, and hence much nicer to men in general, since a biconscious feminist sees that women oppress men far worse than vice versa, so she will lose her monoconscious bigotry regarding men and be much nicer to her male feminist boyfriend, which will benefit the boyfriend, which is something the masculist should point out to him, namely, that it's not only in the self-interest of the monoconscious feminist to become biconscious, but for the male feminist boyfriend as well. If both the boyfriend and the girlfriend become biconscious, by both of them learning masculist ideas, then both will benefit. The relationship will be more likely to last than one in which the monoconscious feminist constantly harps on how men oppress women to her male feminist boyfriend, which makes him increase his odds of dumping her because of her feminazi bitchery. If, however, the male feminist boyfriend becomes biconscious, in brackets, he is male and hence more likely to have an intuitive understanding of what the masculists are saying, given that the masculist and the male feminist are of the same sex with the same male brain and intuitive male understanding, close brackets. But his monoconscious feminist girlfriend does not become biconscious, then the biconscious boyfriend will be asking himself, quote, why doesn't my feminist girlfriend have an emotional empathy for the misery that monoconscious feminists put men through, especially in the divorce courts? And why does my feminist girlfriend have such a bigoted belief in the idea that gender oppression is a one-way street? Is she callous towards men, or just stupid? Can't she see that women oppress men far worse than vice versa? Question mark. Why are masculist arguments so easy for me to understand, but not for her? Question mark. End quote. These questions will fester and fester in him until a turning point is reached, an epiphany, and he starts to see his monoconscious feminist girlfriend, the woman he gives his penis to, as an alien, as a bigot, as a monoconscious feminazi bigot. And his disgust will begin to grow and grow until one day he has had the last straw. And the next time his feminist girlfriend makes some derogatory remark about men, he snaps, telling her, quote, "That's the last straw. I'm leaving you. I've tried many times to tell you about masculist ideas, but you don't listen. They don't penetrate your profoundly monoconsciously biased head. So you're now paying the price. I'm dumping you. I'll go look for a biconscious girlfriend, and you can rot on the shelf. As millions of men go masculist, that is biconscious, you will be increasingly unable to attract a man who will tolerate your monoconscious feminazi bitchery, so that you will rot on the shelf, manless, loveless, sexless, babyless, and utterly rejected. You will then join the cat ladies, the quarter of middle-aged women who live alone, getting fat and unfuckable, who drown their miserable, lonely lives with antidepressant drugs. You reap what you sow. I see you now as a feminazi bitch, and I'm not prepared to tolerate you anymore. I've had my eyes opened by the masculists, who have caused me to see the world differently. I'm now biconscious. I've had both my feminist and my masculist consciousnesses raised, so I find your monoconsciousness insufferable, bigoted, and ignorant. I suggest you become biconscious yourself, or you're never going to find another man. So, this is goodbye. I'm out. I'm done. I can't tolerate your misandry anymore, especially knowing that women oppress men worse than vice versa. You're a misandrist, nagging shit, and that's the truth. So have a nice life. Bye." End quote. And he walks out the door and out of her life. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Author of the book Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Man-Slaves to Women, an e-textbook of 490 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses. Freely downloadable in Microsoft Word format from my website. Ciao.